You all for being here today. One of the biggest concerns I have with this whole discussion on AI is a failure to admit, first and foremost, that it does appear that in the next 10 years that the way that we have grown up and know life with AI will be forever changing. With that being said, there are a few differences that I think most people acknowledge, in that AI lacks a few things, one being a soul, also empathy. And we are not gods or God, and so I think that we're playing a dangerous game, especially moving into a future that's simply unknown right now, especially with, if we do not essentially develop the first AI super weapon, essentially that's what this is, whoever does will essentially control the world. And I think that that's a very serious topic that needs to be discussed right now. But specifically to transhumanism and coupling of AI with humanity, what regulatory frameworks can be established to ensure AI-driven transhumanist technologies like brain-computer interfaces prioritize human safety and consent? I'm opening this up to everyone on the panel. I have a few questions, so I'd like to get through this, so just please limit your responses. Mr. B, if you want to go first, or down there, either or.
I'll just briefly say, Congresswoman, that there's been a lot of work done on AI governance by multiple bodies and entities. I just want to cite something that actually came from the Biden administration on this, about the applicability of so many existing laws and regulations to AI. And their leading regulators for 4 large agencies said before leaving office that basically we have the ability to enforce the respective laws and regulations to promote responsible innovation in automated systems, and that basically AI does not get an exemption from civil rights laws, from consumer protections, unfair and deceptive practices, fraud, so on and so forth. So we have a lot of policies that do regulate many of the fears you're raising.
Is there the possibility of regulation, though, that exists that would enable transhumanist enhancements that exacerbate social inequalities, or basically financial inequalities, creating an elite class of enhanced individuals? I bring that up because we're talking about low-level jobs potentially being removed from the workforce, people that have and can afford the ability of, for example, implementing or implanting chips, given access to unknown amounts of knowledge, and essentially creating the first superhuman. This is a real concern. I know it might come across as funny to other people, but I am genuinely concerned about this. From a bipartisan perspective here, we're talking about humanity versus machine. Hopefully, in a flowery world, we would have it set up to where it could improve society for the best. But I'm also in politics, and I have a very, unfortunately, sometimes negative perspective on the world, because I've seen the worst of humanity in this job.
So science fiction speaks of this a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people who think about this notion of haves and have-nots, and how technology will exacerbate that. And this can depend on how it's available and how much money it costs and who can get it. Nina Farahay writes a lot about AI and brain interfaces, and what we can do to protect humanity in that world. So I do recommend talking to her. She's the smartest person I know on that particular question.
Okay, also, what role can AI itself play in monitoring and mitigating risks associated with transhumanist technologies, such as detecting biases in enhancement distribution?
I think a lot of the conversation so far, since ChatGPT came out, is about foundation models and how they operate, and how they hallucinate, and some of the shortcomings of them and the risks with them. But a lot of these problems can be overcome at the application layer. And Ms. Miller and I represent companies who build applications on top of many models. And so if you think about that framework, what you understand then is the responsibility of some of these outcomes, the responsibility of some of these behaviors isn't just left to the model, it's left to the vendor and the developer,
so how you train
of how you train it, how you package it, how you check for issues and guardrails and all of that.
So real quick, I have one more question, just real quick, yes or no. Would either or any of you be in favor of the U.S. government, through either the DIA, NSA, all agencies involved, Pentagon, even creating a super AI, I would maybe term it guardian AI, to actually train up based on our principles to defend the United States and potentially world against maybe a more nefarious actor like China, creating the same super weapon, because AI can only fight AI. I think you guys would all agree with that, in an effort to defend the home front.
I think we can't do that yet.
Not yet, but maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
Okay.
Maybe, but I need more about the details about what that means, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Unqualified, probably, to weigh in on that one.
I'm supportive of any sort of sovereign AI that we think
Sovereign
makes sense.
AI would be a good name.
I think government alone cannot do it. I think public-private partnership should be required in this case, because otherwise we will not be able to confront China.
Thank you.
The gentlelady's time's expired. I now recognize Mr. Frost from Florida.
Thank you, Chair. The first few months of the Trump administration have been unhinged. At several events in my district, I've heard from outraged.
And we welcome everyone this morning. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this discussion on the federal government and artificial intelligence today. AI is no longer some futuristic idea. It's here, and it's already reshaping everything from healthcare and national defense to finance and fraud prevention. The federal government has a responsibility to harness this technology to make government work faster and more efficiently for the American people. Today, we'll highlight the critical uses of AI in the federal government, which create efficiencies, improve services, and save taxpayers a whole lot of money. The Department of Defense is using AI to improve decision-making and protect our men and women in uniform. Federal agencies are using AI to detect fraud before it happens. By using the technology to identify patterns of fraudulent behavior and working proactively to prevent improper payments. AI agents are beginning to help the administrative tasks, freeing up federal employees to focus on their mission instead of paperwork. However, barriers remain and challenges must be addressed so the government is to fully realize the benefits of this transformative technology. For example, many outdated legacy IT systems don't integrate with new technologies. A cumbersome procurement process limits agency access to some of the best new technologies, including those utilizing AI. And poor data management leads to information silos and duplicative work, which costs taxpayers money and prevents agencies from realizing the full potential of AI. This committee has continued to highlight these challenges and will play a major role in addressing them, including by continuing bipartisan legislative efforts from last Congress. This includes the Bipartisan Federal AI Governance and Transparency Act led by Chairman Comer and then Ranking Member Raskin, which laid out a vision for transparent and trustworthy AI use in government. It also includes the AI Training Extension Act, which I sponsored last Congress and reintroduced today. This bill will equip federal employees with the AI literacy and skills necessary to leverage AI across the federal government. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement from the Chairman Comer highlighting the pivotal role this committee has to ensure agencies deploy AI responsibly and the bipartisan efforts of the committee on these issues. Without objection, President Trump has rightly identified the importance of U.S. dominance in AI and has taken action to remove unnecessary barriers and unleash innovation. This is a refreshing reversal from the heavy-handed regulation-first approach to AI taken by the Biden administration. Last Congress, my subcommittee on cybersecurity, information technology, and government innovation held multiple hearings on the disastrous impacts of overreaching policies, and I was relieved to see the former President Biden's AI executive order rescinded on day one. This was a critical first step, and since then, the White House has directed agencies to prioritize the deployment of AI and improve procurement processes to eliminate barriers to the federal government's use of AI. I believe it's important for this committee to watch these developments closely and work to ensure the executive branch has the tools and authorities to deploy AI at scale and realize the full potential of this incredible technology. I want to thank each of our witnesses this morning for sharing their time with us today, and I look forward to hearing from each of you. I also want to thank my colleagues from the other side of the aisle who showed up in great number this morning, too. I appreciate your interest in this topic. This has been a bipartisan topic for this committee. And with that, I would like to recognize Ranking Member Lynch for his opening statement.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chair. And again, thank you for calling this hearing on the use of artificial intelligence in our government. Optimizing the federal government's use of technology has long been a bipartisan priority of this committee. Indeed, as you know, Madam Chair, our late colleague and friend Jerry Conley was a steadfast champion for using modern technology to improve the delivery of government services, strengthen oversight, and enhance public trust. We continue to fight his fight on this and so many other critical challenges facing our government. We cannot sit here, however, and have the traditional bipartisan conversation about federal IT modernization without acknowledging the fact that the Trump administration, Elon Musk, and DOGE are leading technology initiatives that threaten the privacy and security of all Americans and undermine our government and the vital services it provides to red states and blue states. Musk may say he has stepped away from his role in the federal government, but his recklessness will continue to have devastating consequences for America for years, possibly decades to come. Today, we'll work to better understand the disaster and danger the Trump administration has created by turning our government over to his biggest campaign donor and people who are more interested in self-enrichment than public service. Since President Trump's inauguration, he has given Elon Musk free rein to terrorize our civil servants and drive more than 275,000 federal employees from their jobs serving the American people. His Doge team has done this so capriciously that they have had to go back to people that they originally fired and beg them to return to their jobs, serving our veterans, maintaining our nuclear stockpile, and fighting bird flu. At the Social Security Administration, whistleblowers have told us that the agency has lost so many critical information technology and support staff that very few of the remaining workers even know how to handle errors or alerts in their computer systems. This could mean missed checks and millions of seniors and people with disabilities losing access to their financial lifeline. While they purged the federal government of expertise, Elon Musk and Doge reportedly fed sensitive government data, including America's private personal information, into unvetted and unaccountable AI software. They also reportedly deployed Musk's own generative AI chatbot called Grok to consume government data and assist with sensitive government decisions. Grok has even been deployed onto systems at the Department of Homeland Security, despite the fact that it has not been approved for use. Musk has been operating without any oversight whatsoever while posing a very real risk of violating security and privacy laws, accessing confidential information about his competitors, and using valuable federal databases to turbocharge his own AI system, which would mean more money and more power for Mr. Musk. The American people deserve answers. Musk and Doge have put the most personal data of every American at risk. Cybersecurity experts like Mr. Schneier, who is here with us today, are sounding the alarm that the holes Doge has created in our national cybersecurity system are gaping and pervasive. And now, in this horrifying, insecure environment, the Trump administration wants to centralize all of Americans' data into one massive database, which would allow full-spectrum surveillance of American citizens, making it even easier for bad actors to hack. And, of course, they're contracted with a big private tech company owned by one of President Trump's billionaire supporters to do just that. 4 months ago, Democrats moved to subpoena Elon Musk to provide public testimony to this committee. At that time, our Republican colleagues complained that their constituents were calling them their offices and showing up to town halls to yell at them about Musk, while Americans' concerns have only deepened since then. From his erratic purge of the federal workforce to his exploitation of sensitive taxpayer data to the cybersecurity nightmare he's created and the horrifying surveillance state we fear, Musk has put the American people into a position where they demand answers from Elon Musk. I believe, too, that my Republican colleagues should have had some questions of their own for Mr. Musk. Recent allegations have left Americans wondering if he was potentially under the influence of drugs, while at the very heart of the Trump administration's most consequential and sensitive decisions. It is worth investigating whether one of President Trump's most influential advisors was under the influence of heavy drugs while upending hundreds of thousands of American lives, breaking government services beyond repair, and handing out death sentences for hundreds of thousands of innocent people around the world who relied on American foreign aid and medical care for survival, most of whom were children. If this doesn't move my Republican colleagues, maybe they just want to hear from Musk on why he called their bill to cut Medicaid and give tax breaks to billionaires. This is Elon Musk's words, a disgusting abomination, and, quote, massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill, or why he spent the last 24 hours leveraging his social media to, quote, kill the bill. Or maybe they want to know why Musk has said that his next round of firings might be targeted at them, Republican politicians who have not toed the line on Musk's priorities. Regardless of your motivations, Democrats and Republicans alike simply cannot allow Elon Musk to escape accountability for his actions. He's dismantled our government, endangered Americans, and weaponized public service for his own financial gain. I ask my Republican colleagues, let's work together on this. Let's support oversight that Democrats today in moving that this committee subpoena Elon Musk to answer for his actions. All of us deserve answers on behalf of the American people. So, Madam Chair, therefore, pursuant to Clause 2K6 of House Rule 11, I move that we subpoena this committee, Republican and Democrat, subpoena Elon Musk to testify before this committee.
Second that motion.
We'll suspend for a moment. Thank you.
Man,
Chairwoman, point of order. When are we going to vote on subpoenaing Musk?
We are doing a point of order right now with the parliamentarian.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. We are suspended.
Madam Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
move to table the gentleman's motion.
Okay, the motion is not debatable. As many as are in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the
Madam
opinion
Chair,
of
I
the
ask
chair,
for a
the
recorded
yeas
vote.
have it, and the motion to table is agreed to. The committee
Ask
will
for a
now
recorded
resume
vote.
consideration.
Interesting opinion.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
recorded
Recorded
vote.
vote is requested.
parliamentary inquiry.
Okay, a recorded vote is ordered, and the clerk will call the roll. Okay, we're going to suspend to allow the clerk to get ready.
Parliamentary
We have,
inquiry.
yes, sir.
Madam Chair, thank you. Is it the custom of the committee to shut down debate on such an important motion?
This is not an- this is not an inquiry. It's not an inquiry. We're suspended.
Massachusetts mentioned that Mr. Musk was potentially
This is
under the
not
influence of
debatable right
ketamine,
now. I love you.
psychedelic
It's not
drugs,
debatable right now. This is not a point of
and-
inquiry.
And other
But you look
substances
good in front
according
of the
to-
photos. You look
according to
great right
this.
now. You look good.
So is this the?
You're not recognized right now. There's not a point of inquiry. Thank you. We're suspended until the clerk is ready to call the roll.
Move to call the roll.
We are suspended again for the third time. We're suspended until the clerk can call the roll. Thank you.
I know.
How the job interviews are going.
Which job
Please,
interview?
Chair, are we going to keep posted on how these job interviews are going, please, Chair? Do you really want Elon Musk to come in here and answer your ass, man? You're real close.
Why don't you sit down, take the mic, and we'll have a debate on this.
We're having a
Let's
friendly
debate.
discussion. We're suspended, right? Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. So, I have a pretty good sense of humor. Yeah, and I always bring it to the table. Yeah. So, I think we have been engaged in somewhere honoring Jerry.
Madam Chair, point of inquiry.
Right. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is the clerk here?
The clerk is here and preparing to call the roll.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you explain exactly what preparing requires?
She has to get paperwork. She has to get seated. She has to do all that. Thank you.
She sure does, yes.
Or you guys have to find your members who didn't attend the hearing. That's probably more likely.
It's kind of
Madam Chair? Inquiry, please.
Yes, sir.
Could
You want
we-
more video with Elon
we-
behind you? You already got a good clip.
Could we have a unanimous consent motion to structure debate for 10 minutes? Each side gets 5 minutes.
We're in the
to
middle
debate
of, we're getting ready
whether
to
he
do a
was under the
recorded vote. We
influence of
can't do that.
drugs.
We're not able to do that right now. Let's do the recorded vote, then we can talk about it after. Thank you.
Why? Go ahead.
parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have an assistant clerk that can move maybe a little bit faster? We have a room full of people.
This is not an inquiry, thank you.
It was a question. Do we have an assistant clerk?
It's not a parliamentarian inquiry, so no, we're not having this debate.
But it is a point of order.
It's not. And
we'll check with
this is not,
parliamentarian.
a motion to table is not debatable, thank you.
We're not debating that.
It's not,
We're
we weren't
about the
asking for a
clerk.
point of order. Would the parliamentarian rule on a point of order?
Is the parliamentarian
The
here?
gentleman must state his point of order.
It was the gentlelady's point of order that was overruled because it was determined that it was not a point of order when in fact it is. I think that she should be allowed to.
She stated it was an inquiry, not a point of order, my recollection. But if she would like to restate it, that's fine.
Okay. Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we not have an assistant clerk who can make sure that we can continue to do the business in an efficient way in oversight? Because it has historically never taken this long for the clerk.
We're going
call
through the
roll.
process right now, and we'll have a recorded vote as soon as we're able to.
Just to restate the lady's point, the gentlelady's point, Democrats are here. We think this is an important issue. We are ready to vote. And
The gentleman must state a point of order.
we welcome the opportunity to debate this. This is a serious issue.
Is there a point of
in the
order,
interest of-
Mr. Lynch?
The gentleman
making
has
my
the
point.
floor. Let him finish.
I'm the chairwoman. Thank you. Women are allowed to speak on this committee, and I ask for a point of order.
Point of inquiry. Can we just, Madam Chair, point of inquiry? As a woman? I know, I should hopefully, I get to speak.
Yes,
I'm a
ma'am.
woman.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, babe.
Is it possible for us to just do a roll call without the clerk to determine what members are here so that we can determine
No,
if y'all
ma'am.
really have the votes?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
For those of you watching at home, the Republicans are not in the room, so they're trying to find their members so that they can.
You are not
record their
recognized,
vote.
Ms. Stansberry. Thank you. You can be quiet now.
Neither are any of your members because they're not in the room. Thank you.
Madam Chair, on a point of order, Democrats have a clerk that is available to record
Okay,
our vote.
Mr. Lynch, the chair will not entertain points of order regarding the propriety or expediency of a proposed course of action. This is my final ruling on such points of order. Thank you.
Madam Chair, a point of inquiry then.
Yes, sir.
Would it not be permissible to have the Democratic clerk record the vote and to begin it now?
No, sir, it's not. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the only reason we can't take a vote is because y'all were about to lose it?
Is there a point of inquiry here? Because I didn't hear one.
That was my inquiry. Is the reason
That's
we
not
couldn't
a
take the
valid
vote-
inquiry. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I have a point of inquiry, Madam Chair. I was just wondering,
sir.
Being new to this committee, what's the basis or rule on which you are overturning, not allowing the Democratic clerk to start the vote?
We have our own clerk.
Move to adjourn.
That's why.
Is that based on a rule, or?
It's based on the fact that you guys lost the election because of your crazy policies. And you guys don't control the chamber.
Is that in the rules? Madam Chair, just wanted to follow up. Would appreciate an answer to the question. Is there something in the rules that prevents? We have witnesses who've flown in from around the country.
This is committee practice. Thank you for your inquiry. And we'll start the vote momentarily. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a point of inquiry. It has now
Yes, sir.
been 10 minutes, and this motion is simply to bring Mr. Musk forward so that we can ask him questions on behalf of the American people. I think the Democratic position has been very reasonable, very deliberate. You've got a lot.
The motion is to table and there's no debate. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Right. Again, Madam Chair, the Democrats are all here and we're ready to vote. It is now 11 minutes.
You're not recognized, but you do look good for your clips later for social
Well,
media
thank
with
you. I
with
appreciate
Elon
that.
and all the words behind you. It looks good.
Appreciate
The
that.
blue's good with the red
I
color.
appreciate
Looks
that.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, parliamentary inquiry in a minute. Will it be another minute?
Probably 12, right?
Could be.
It's debatable depending on the math, I suppose.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have unanimous consent.
We're in the middle of getting ready to vote, so we can't do that right now. We can do that after.
Is that the rule? Because the clerk has not been ready for the last 15 minutes almost.
You're not recognized. Thank you.
So we're not doing unanimous consent.
Not in the middle of a motion to table and a recorded vote we're preparing to take.
Is the clerk seated?
You are not recognized right now. Thank you.
Okay, since we're sitting here in silence for the.
You are not recognized,
of
and
the
there's no
record.
point of inquiry. You are not recognized.
Okay, I'll do a point of inquiry.
Okay.
I am seeking an inquiry to determine whether or not it is okay to put it into the record that at the time that this motion was called, only Mr. Gosar, Mr. Grothman, Mr. Higgins, Mr. Fallon, and Mr. Crane, along with yourself, were the only Republicans that were actually in the room.
This is not a real point of inquiry. You're not recognized on it either. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a legitimate point of inquiry. Madam Chair? Madam Chair, I have
Is
a
it for
legitimate-
real this time?
Oh, no, it's very legitimate, very for real. How much taxpayer money are Republicans wasting while delaying this vote to subpoena?
That's not a legitimate point of inquiry.
It's very
Thank-
legitimate to
it's
the American
not-
people.
Thank you. It's not.
Very
You're
legitimate
not
to the
recognized.
American people.
It's not, and you're not recognized on it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, parliamentary inquiry. How much taxpayer money
sir.
was wasted when some of the Democrats didn't show up to work for
Also not
almost
a
2
not a
years
point of
during
inquiry.
COVID?
I love you, Mr.
Particularly one
Fallon.
from Boston?
Also not a point of inquiry. Thank you.
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry, are you engaging in personalities right now? Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
I didn't say anybody's name.
Who are you talking about?
This is not time for debate right now. Thank you.
Well, please, yes.
I'm being respectful of everybody on both sides
Well,
there.
be
Let's be
respectful and honor the
respectful of
rules
one another, please.
uniformly.
I'm from
This is not-
Pittsfield and I was
This
here.
is not debatable. We're not having a debate on this. We're getting ready to take a recorded vote. Everyone can sit down and turn their microphones off unless you have a point of inquiry, an appropriate point of inquiry. Thank you.
To be on the House floor eulogizing a black woman dying in Georgia because of your policies.
Madam Chair, point of inquiry.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that we were about to take the vote in, the clerk.
Yes, we're about to take the vote.
Never mind, because I
Thank
was about
you.
to say, your members finally showed up. I mean, let's go.
Thank you, ma'am.
How's it going?
It's been interesting. Lots of delay tactics.
All right, a recorded vote is ordered, and the clerk will call the roll.
Good stuff, yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan votes yes. Mr. Turner. Mr. Gosar. Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Fox votes yes. Mr. Grothman. Mr. Grothman votes yes. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud votes yes. Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer votes yes. Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins votes yes. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions votes aye. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Fallon. Mr. Fallon votes aye. Mr. Donalds. Mr. Donalds votes yes. Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry votes aye. Mr. Timmons. Mr. Timmons votes yes. Mr. Burchett. Mr. Burchett votes yes. Ms. Green. Ms. Green votes yes. Ms. Boebert. Ms. Luna. Ms. Luna votes aye. Mr. Langworthy. Mr. Burleson. Mr. Burleson votes yes. Mr. Crane. Mr. Crane votes yes. Mr. Jack. Mr. McGuire. Mr. McGuire votes yes. Mr. Gill. Mr. Gill votes yes. Mr. Lynch.
No.
Mr. Lynch votes no. Ms. Norton.
No.
Ms. Norton votes no. Mr. Krishnamurthy.
No.
Mr. Krishnamurthy votes no. Mr. Khanna.
No.
Mr. Khanna votes no. Mr. Mfume.
No.
Mr. Mfume votes no. Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown votes no. Ms. Stansbury. Ms. Stansbury votes no. Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia votes no. Mr. Frost. Mr. Frost votes no. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes no. Mr. Kassar.
No.
Mr. Kassar votes no. Ms. Crockett.
No.
Ms. Crockett votes no. Ms. Randall. Ms. Randall votes no. Mr. Subramaniam. Mr. Subramaniam votes no. Ms. Ansari.
No.
Ms. Ansari votes no. Mr. Bell?
No.
Mr. Bell votes no. Ms. Simon? No. Ms. Simon votes no. Mr. Min?
No.
Mr. Min votes no. Ms. Presley?
No. No.
Ms. Presley votes no. Ms. Tlaib? Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman votes aye.
And how is Mr. Biggs recorded?
Mr. Biggs is not recorded. Mr. Biggs votes aye.
And how is Ms. Boebert recorded?
Ms. Boebert is not recorded. Ms. Boebert votes aye.
Madam Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
The clerk will report the tally.
Madam Chairwoman, on this vote, the ayes are 21, the nays are 20.
The ayes have it, and the motion to table is agreed to. The committee will now resume. Here we go. Okay, I now request unanimous consent that Representative Mouskowitz of Florida and Trahan of Massachusetts will be waived on to today's hearing for the purpose of asking questions, and without objection, so ordered. I'm pleased to introduce our witnesses for today's hearing. Our first witness today is Mr. Ili Barakhtari, the president of the Special Competitive Studies Project. Our second witness is Mr. Bhavin Shah, founder and chief executive of the AI company MoveWorks. Our third witness is Ms. Linda Miller, former deputy executive director of the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee and founder of TriClat. Our fourth witness is Mr. Adam Thierer, senior research fellow at R Street Institute. And our fifth witness today is Mr. Bruce Schneier from the Harvard Kennedy School. We welcome everyone, and we're pleased to have you here this morning. So pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We appreciate all of you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statements and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Please limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it's turned on and the members up here can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow. When the red light comes on, your 5 minutes has expired, and we would ask that you please wrap it up. So I now recognize Mr. Barakhtari to please begin your opening statement.
Chairwoman Mace, Ranking Member Lynch, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify here today. I'm here to make one clear point. While developing advanced AI is a significant moment, the true measure of a nation's future advantage won't be who has the best models, but who has built the essential digital infrastructure and fosters the deepest adoption of AI across all of the society. To understand the stakes, imagine if at the beginning of the last century, our nation had failed to embrace electricity and yielded that transformative advantage to our competitors. The consequences would have been devastating. Today, we face a similar moment. The strategic competition in AI with People's Republic of China is intensifying. Since 2017, Beijing has launched an ambitious campaign to achieve technological supremacy as the key to its global dominance. China is executing this strategy by dedicating vast resources to integrate AI across its entire economy, society, and military. For example, they recently announced $47.5 billion semiconductor fund, which is designed to eliminate reliance on Western technology. They are on track to surpass the U.S. in raw R&D spending, having already tripled their investments since Xi Jinping came to power in 2012 to $500 billion in 2024. This is all built on dominant infrastructure, including more than 60% of the world's 5G base stations. This entire effort is backed by state-sponsored cyber espionage and intellectual property theft designed to acquire and weaponize advanced technology. While the United States still leads AI in research, our primary disadvantage is the slow adoption of these breakthroughs. We are hampered by bureaucratic inertia, outdated IT infrastructure, and a lack of AI literacy in the workforce. Overcoming these barriers is the key to winning the global tech competition. To secure our leadership, the United States must take decisive action in the following areas. First, we need to establish a high-level technology competitiveness council at the White House, modeled on the approach we took for the space race to coordinate a unified national strategy and drive rapid AI adoption across the government. Second, we need to significantly increase our investment in AI infrastructure by doubling non-defense AI R&D spending to $32 billion over time and codifying the national AI research and resource. Third, we need to launch to make the U.S. the magnet for AI experts. This means eliminating green card caps for the top STEM talent and promoting AI literacy throughout our educational system. Fourth, we must overhaul the federal procurement process to rapidly integrate cutting-edge AI from our most innovative companies. Lastly, we must strengthen our global alliances in AI, 5G, and cybersecurity to ensure the resilience and security for us and our allies. The bottom line is this. This is not just a competition of invention, but of adoption. It's about who can set the rules for the future. We have faced moments like this before. From the space race to the digital revolution, our nation's greatest strength has always been our ability to unite our vision with decisive action. By embracing this challenge together, across government, industry, and academia, we will not only secure our leadership, but build a more prosperous and secure future for all Americans. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Shah for his opening statement.
Chairwoman Mace, Ranking Member Lynch, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify on government use and procurement of AI. I am Bhavin Shah, CEO and founder of MoveWorks. MoveWorks is an enterprise AI company that has spent 9 years successfully helping some of the world's largest organizations to use AI to transform their operations. Today, we face a moment of national importance. The question before us is not whether the federal government should adopt AI, it's whether we will lead or follow. Before we talk about the procurement hurdles that we have faced, let me explain to you what MoveWorks does. MoveWorks transforms how organizations support their employees. We do this through an enterprise AI assistant, and employees interact conversationally with the assistant in a chat-based interface. They can get IT support, ask HR questions, and find company information. But the assistant is not just for looking up information. It can also be used to take action, such as scheduling time off or obtaining software licenses. Behind the scenes, our platform integrates with all of an organization's technology systems. Because the AI assistant is a single unified tool, employees no longer have to log in and out of multiple systems to get work done. Organizations can extend the system to simplify and accelerate their most complex business processes, all done safely and securely while respecting permissions. We do this work by combining top-tier language models, like OpenAI's GPT-4, Meta's Llama 3, as well as other models from Google's DeepMind, Microsoft, NVIDIA, just to name a few. We put these together with our own enterprise-specific models, all governed by enterprise-grade guardrails, including fact-checking, citations, and security filters. The result is AI that understands work context. It handles complex business processes safely and effectively, and follows industry-leading data protection and privacy approaches. Today, MoveWorks serves 5 million employees across 350 organizations, including major companies like Broadcom, Marriott, and CVS Health. We're also used by a number of local governments, such as Scottsdale, Ventura, and Durham County. In addition, government contractors like Leidos and Northrop Grumman use MoveWorks to make their businesses more efficient. We've seen firsthand how AI drives measurable results. Honeywell reduced IT help desk requests by 80%. Broadcom scaled from 10,000 to 50,000 employees without increasing service staff. And the city of Glendale achieved a 514% return on its AI investment. Our experience positions us uniquely to understand the federal government's complex requirements. The federal government has an unprecedented opportunity. You can leverage AI for efficiency. You can achieve cost savings. You can improve employee experience. And most importantly, you can therefore improve citizen services. We've engaged with agencies across the government and consistently see enthusiasm for AI adoption. But that enthusiasm has not translated into government procuring AI products like MoveWorks. We've encountered 3 primary barriers. The first is the FedRAMP process. MoveWorks invested 3.5 years and over $8.5 million to achieve FedRAMP-ready status. This is a prohibitive barrier for smaller AI innovators, the companies that often develop the most cutting-edge solutions. Second, complex reseller networks. These force innovative companies to work through intermediaries rather than directly with agencies, adding costs without adding value. Third, multi-year contracting vehicles. These favor large incumbents over agile AI companies. These create delays measured in years. Meanwhile, AI technology advances every month. American AI leadership requires action, not just intention. The private sector has demonstrated that AI adoption can both be rapid and secure when procurement processes match the pace of innovation. I recommend Congress consider immediate steps to improve government use and procurement of AI. Embed AI education and adoption goal in agency leadership performance plans. Create government developer programs for startups to learn federal systems. Scale AI proof of concept programs for rapid pilots to all agencies, similar to the Investment Horizons pilot program developed by the Office of the CIO within the Navy. And finally, establish agency innovator programs that allow smaller agencies to serve as test beds for AI implementations. Longer term, we must modernize acquisition policies. We must accelerate procurement timelines. The federal government employs the most important workforce in the world, the workforce that operates our democracy and defends our nation. These public servants deserve the same AI-powered tools that are transforming the private sector's productivity and effectiveness. We have a choice. We can modernize our procurement process to embrace AI innovation, or we can watch other nations take the lead in government AI adoption, while our agencies struggle with outdated processes and missed opportunities. I urge this committee to champion procurement reform. We need to maintain our competitive edge while serving citizens more effectively. Thank you, and I welcome your questions and discussions on these critical topics.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Ms. Miller for her opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman, Ranking Member, and members of the committee. My name is Linda Miller. I bring a unique perspective today because I spent 10 years at one of the world's most admired agencies, the GAO, as well as I'm also the co-founder of an AI technology startup. So I'm coming here with both the perspective of a long history in the oversight community, as well as some of the challenges that have already been raised about trying to bring innovative technology to the US government. As DOGE is seeing firsthand, it's hard, if not impossible, to try and impose private sector innovation on the federal government. The data challenges alone are formidable. Agencies collect data poorly if they collect it at all. Programs collect their own data in silos. They don't share it even amongst themselves, much less with other agencies. In many cases, agencies don't even know who they're paying. They send money to states in the form of grants, and from there, the money trail is opaque, making payment integrity almost impossible. At Tracklight, to help illuminate who one federal agency was paying, we spoke to a company who FOIAs data on invoices to state agencies and sells it. For our federal client, we were going to have to buy the data to tell them who they were paying. The same issue exists at the state level. GAO reported on a grant program that administered by one state in which a company applied for the same grant 13 times in neighboring counties and got it because the states didn't share that data. The size and complexity of the administrative state and the volume of regulations agencies must comply with make agility and innovation next to impossible. My fellow panelists have made some very smart suggestions about turbocharging the rip and replace efforts of legacy IT systems and removing procurement barriers. But we have to be realistic about how capable government is to enact these rapid changes, no matter how badly they're needed. I could spend my time this morning telling you about how we urgently need to adopt AI across government to remain relevant, achieve cost savings, and improve service delivery, as well as prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. But I think you already know that. So I'd like to talk about what proactively can be done to move the needle. GAO has reported that there's almost 25 existing AI requirements in federal law and guidance today. GSA has established an AI Center of Excellence, which was required by law. Agencies have inventoried AI use cases. They've put in place responsible AI officials, but the government continues to show anemic AI adoption overall. My fear is we've created yet another bureaucratic morass, hamstringing agencies with compliance work, and only added the layers of sludge, further slowing down AI adoption. There has been progress. Recent EOs have sought to improve data sharing, which will improve how agencies make use of data to use AI. And GSA's FedRAMP overhaul is a step in the right direction. I completely agree with Mr. Shah. He spent $8.5 million trying to get FedRAMP certified, and successfully getting FedRAMP certified. My small technology company is going to have to put out millions of dollars to do the same. But AI adoption is the perfect candidate for what's called a regulatory sandbox, which Congress can mandate to speed AI projects to implementation in controlled settings, suspending these layers of bureaucracy. Creative procurement solutions must be explored and carefully monitored, allowing lessons to be learned and shared across agencies. And outdated privacy laws that were designed for a world that was that existed long before the internet, much less artificial intelligence, has to be revised. I cannot state this more clearly. The bad guys have all our data. We cannot protect Americans' privacy in 2025. Today, privacy protection is going to have to involve advanced technology like anonymization of sensitive data and the use of other types of identifiers like behaviors and geolocation. I'd be remiss not to mention the risks, which are real. Lazy, careless use of AI doesn't just imperil the goals of the AI project, it undermines the trust in the technology itself. Hallucinations are real. Subject matter expertise is vital. Responsible AI is not just a buzzword. Humans in the loop means humans who are trained, knowledgeable, and paying close attention. This is not a set it and forget it tool. Now is the time to be bold. We can't change how government operates. Wholesale changes to legacy IT systems and the federal acquisition system will take years. But we can create innovative laboratories where AI projects can operate in proof of concept regulatory sandboxes in carefully controlled environments to start to show the art of the possible. I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Thierer for his opening statement.
Chairwoman Mace, Ranking Member Lynch, and members of the committee, thank you for your invitation to participate in this important hearing. My name is Adam Thierer. I am a senior fellow at the R Street Institute, where I cover emerging technology policy. My message here today focuses on 3 key points. First, there are meaningful benefits to governmental use of artificial intelligence technologies. Second, Congress and the Trump administration need to take steps to unlock those benefits by accelerating the modernization of government systems and policies. Third, we must appreciate the connection between broader AI regulation and the benefits the government itself can accrue from these systems. While the federal government is already integrating AI into systems and processes, progress has been slow, and there needs to be more urgency to tap the many benefits that AI can offer. The bipartisan House Task Force on Artificial Intelligence report from last December noted that, quote, each year the federal government spends over $100 billion on information technology and cybersecurity. Approximately 80% of this spending goes to operating existing legacy systems that are typically outdated and underpinned by archaic software and hardware components. AI can help address this persistent problem. Last year, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce released a study on how improved IT processes and aid agencies already help to, quote, modernize infrastructure, enhance citizen services, improve national security, and foster innovation, and unlock significant long-term cost savings and efficiencies along the way. Doing more with AI could generate even broader benefits. Accenture estimates that by tapping AI systems, federal agencies could unleash, quote, a productivity windfall for the U.S. government worth up to $532 billion annually by 2028. Just earlier this week, the UK government reported that a new trial of AI tools revealed how civil servants who use them freed up 2 weeks a year in working time, and 82% of them said they wanted to continue to use AI tools to boost their productivity. AI tools can be particularly helpful in simplifying paperwork and procedural hassles. AI has already been used to improve public records management at many different agencies, including document declassification and Freedom of Information Act requests. AI can also help streamline specific regulations and make them more cost-effective to ensure greater value to taxpayers. AI is already helping governments better administer various public services, including infrastructure management, public safety efforts, healthcare delivery, environmental monitoring, emergency responses, workforce development, and various other citizen services. As Congress and the executive branch look to continue to clear a path to efficient government AI uptake, the focus should continue to be on addressing barriers to implementation through 5 main priorities. First, modernize federal acquisition policies to boost AI adoption, especially by encouraging easier acquisition of sophisticated but cost-effective commercial systems. Second, streamline paperwork and use requirements associated with federal AI contracts and deployments, especially for small businesses and open source providers. Third, ensure government data sets are AI-ready and interoperable such that the public, researchers, and other organizations can more easily benefit from them. Fourth, enhance in-house government AI talent and improve technical literacy at all levels. And fifth, boost trust and security in government technology systems. Congress has already passed several laws to facilitate some of these goals, and bipartisan efforts by both the Biden and Trump administrations have helped expand those efforts, including through chief AI officers in federal agencies. The OMB recently released very important guidance requiring agencies to, quote, adopt a forward-leaning and pro-innovation approach that takes advantage of this technology to help shape the future of government operations and, quote, harness solutions that bring the very best value to taxpayers. This committee and others should assist these efforts by helping the administration ensure that agencies are AI ready for the future. That means closer oversight of agency modernization and digitization efforts, plus the necessary funding to get the job done. Finally, Congress should recognize there is an important connection between broader AI policy and the benefits governments can gain from AI systems. Proposals to regulate AI systems are proliferating rapidly, with over 1,000 AI-related bills already introduced just 5 months into 2025. If these mandates expand, they will significantly raise the cost of deploying advanced AI systems because complicated, confusing compliance regimes would hamstring developers, especially smaller ones. A confusing patchwork of state and local red tape will not only undermine the market for commercial systems, but it will also undermine the government's ability to choose from a diverse array of competitive, cost-effective options. One recent study from CCIA reported the federal preemption of state-level AI regulation would benefit the federal balance sheet by up to $269 billion over the next decade by lowering procurement costs for the federal government. Congress needs to protect the interstate marketplace and ensure a robustly innovative and competitive AI ecosystem can develop. Some degree of preemption is needed to achieve this goal and ensure a diverse array of cutting-edge AI solutions are available to government agencies and to the public as consumers of both private and public services. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Schneier, you're now recognized for your opening statement.
Thank you, and thanks for inviting me. So I'm a technologist. I've been working in cryptography and cybersecurity since the early 1990s. I write, I teach, I consult, I start companies. I've thought a lot about the role of AI in democratic government. I actually wrote a book on this topic that'll be published in October. Previous 4 speakers have talked about the promises of this technology. I want to talk about the national security implications of the way our country is consolidating data and feeding it to AI models. Chairman Connor said in his statement about this hearing that he wanted to unleash AI responsibly while protecting the interests and rights of all Americans. DOJ's actions do exactly the opposite. Over the last few months, DOJ's affiliates have spread across government. They are still exfiltrating massive U.S. databases, processing them with AI, and offering them to private companies such as Palantir. These actions are causing irreparable harm to the security of our country and to the safety of everyone, including everyone in this room, right, regardless of political affiliation. This unprecedented security risk is a result of 2 things: DOJ's sloppy cybersecurity regarding our data and regarding the networks they've accessed, and also the over-trusting of AI, current technology, to take over human tasks. You all need to assume that our adversaries have copies of all the data DOJ has exfiltrated and have established access into all the networks that DOJ has removed security controls from. And your data can be used against you. Right? Consider the coercive power of your financial records or your medical records or the government clearance form you filled out. Whoever you think of as your enemy or an enemy of the United States, they can use this data to coerce you or a family member or a member of your staff. And this is true for any elected official or CEO or police officer or judge or nuclear power plant operator. Like, really, it's true for everyone. The more powerful you are or the more critical your role, the more likely it is that someone will seek to use your data against you. There's also a military concept called preparing the battlefield, which are the things that you do into the enemy in peacetime to make wartime easier. So China hacking backdoors into our power grid is an example of that. And preparing to use our data against us is another. So you should assume that any significant military action against the United States will start with every general's bank account being zeroed out. And maybe your bank account's being zeroed out, because there's nothing more distracting than your distraught families. Data is power. Any entity, government or corporate, that holds individual data has the ability to understand, predict, even manipulate behavior. Right? This is Facebook's business model. Our government collects incredibly intimate data about Americans, but its power is limited by how that data is organized. There was security in our data being spread amongst different government agencies, with different rules governing use and sharing, Using AI to reason across disconnected data stores represents a massive increase in government power and therefore a security threat. DOG's sloppy security practices also means we can't trust the data they're using. Did they make copying mistakes? Did some adversaries slip in bad data? Remember that nonsense about 150-year-olds collecting Social Security? That was someone misunderstanding how the data was encoded. Our adversaries are certainly capable of penetrating the security of any of the companies that DOJ gave our data to, and just as capable as poisoning our AI systems. Data integrity is vital, and good AI fed with bad data makes bad decisions and is untrustworthy. Irreparable damage has already been done, but the damage is ongoing. 2015, China hacked OPM, stole data about all federal workers. That was a major security breach. Continuous real-time access to data is much more dangerous. The longer these vulnerabilities persist, the more adversaries will be able to manipulate data and install backdoors. The more they'll be able to manipulate the AIs we're creating, and the more they'll be able to secretly influence our policy outcomes. Sacrificing cybersecurity in an effort to create an AI future not only risks the country, it risks the AIs, which in turn risks our justice system, our legislative system, our banking system, national defense, and all of us, all of you personally. So thank you, and I welcome questions and conversation.
Thank you. I will now recognize Mr. Gosar for 5 minutes.
Thanks, Chairwoman. Ms. Miller, you described the COVID process as a catastrophic event with a high risk of fraud. I agree. I am the only non-U.S. president in the United States to have ever killed a national emergency. I killed COVID. But there's not a single receipt, though. And since Bill Clinton through Joe Biden, we've spent over $13 trillion, let me say that again, $13 trillion without a receipt. Could we use AI to examine the funds spent under COVID?
It depends on where that data is available. Certainly, AI can be used to mine any data sets that exist. The question I think you're really asking is whether or not that data exists, and I don't have the answer to that question.
Well, I hope that we'd have some database because we have a record of where it went, supposedly. So
Well, yeah, so we have a record of where a lot of the spending went, and of course, the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee, the organization that I helped lead, has a lot of that data on their website about where money was spent during the pandemic. When a lot of that money was stolen, something I talk about a lot, we don't know where that money went. A lot of the money that was stolen during the pandemic went to overseas foreign adversarial nation states.
So they also could have, how should I say this? If they were recouping, my understanding there was over 2,000 cases in Arizona alone that entities or individuals were actually sued by the government to get it back, resulting in compensation of over $300 million. We could use that as well if it disappeared. Once again, this is based on the data, right?
Yeah, it's based on the data. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Shaw, you talked about our procurement system. Boy, it's broken. So how would you use AI during that whole process? Because our overruns in our military are outrageous. How can we keep them on track? How does that work?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of things to talk about on that topic. One, you can use AI to help with the procurement process itself in terms of analyzing vendors, summarizing submissions, generating use cases and requirements for the different agencies that are looking for new technology. But I think before that, we need to sort of create an environment where these new technologies that can be applied to procurement or anything else in the US government can make their way into these agencies. And I think that's a human process problem that we have an opportunity here in this committee to really kind of provide some oversight and correction so that we can go about delivering these great new technologies into these agencies quickly, right? We've spent years working on this ourselves to try and get into agencies. But if you look at a lot of these procurement, sort of processes, they're multi-year, they're outdated from the 1990s, where essentially, you're thinking about installing software on some server rack that's going to last 5 years, and then it might take 2 years to actually go through the procurement process. This is untenable for young companies who have limited cash, limited capital, who want to be able to monetize their investments and especially help the the U.S. government move quickly.
So could you use something like a blockchain? See, I'm not a techie. I got questions. Could you use a blockchain to kind of utilize some type? I see you. I'll come back to you in a second, but I want Mr. Shaw. Is there some kind of technology that will help preserve some of this data or save us?
So we do not deploy blockchain technology for our solution. We focus squarely on what employees can benefit from when it comes to using AI to be more productive. So I'm unfortunately not able to answer blockchain could be used here, but generally speaking, technology has been shown in the private sector to have tremendous impacts on their efficiencies and their ability to stay ahead and to lead in the industry.
Yes, Ms. Miller, I got one more question for you. Could you use AI to audit Medicaid, Medicare, and comparisons with hospital versus hospital?
Yeah, that's a very, very good use case for AI because you can look at, there's a lot of claims data and there's a lot of information on providers, and you can look at all that data using AI very quickly and identify patterns that look suspicious. It's an area that I think really is ripe for a lot of innovation in the space because CMS has the opportunity to really mine a lot of that Medicare and Medicaid data using artificial intelligence to identify taxpayer dollars that are being stolen.
Gotcha. Well, I'm out of time. I yield back.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Lynch for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Bakhtari, you mentioned in your testimony the value of educating AI literate workers, right? And Mr. Shah, I think you alluded to the same thing. About 25 years ago, I co-founded a charter school in Boston, a public charter school. And what we did was we saw that most of the jobs that were being created were in math and science and STEM-related industries. So we created this school that doubled or tripled the amount of educational time that students would be exposed to math and science. It's worked very, very well. Those students score very, very high on math and science in the MCAS. Unfortunately, on Monday, the Trump administration rescinded $325 million from the STEM education grants that we provide to feed that type of activity, that sustain a move towards, stronger STEM disciplines within our student bodies. And that was money that was already authorized, so it wasn't, up for debate. This is the stuff we did last year. Is that something that cutting $325 million in STEM grants, is that going to help our effort here on AI?
Ranking Member Lynch, I think we have to be strategic about how we approach AI adoption at all levels of our educational system. I think if you look at what China is doing, they're introducing AI at every level of their educational system. I think for our kids going forward, having a capability in their pocket to have access to an Einstein AI agentic application that can help them towards tailored education would be an enormous benefit, for the next generation of Americans.
Learning math and science would probably help as well. I'm going to just reclaim my time. Mr. Schneier, thank you, though. Thank you. I think you're on the right track there. Mr. Schneier, can you talk about, so China has adopted an AI system that is total surveillance of their entire population there. It's non-democratic. It's quite oppressive. Their goal is to be able to surveil every single member of their society, know what they're doing, know what they're purchasing, and for oppressive reasons so that no one gets out of line. Can you talk about the need to, when we approve AI and choose the architecture for our AI, how important it is to make sure that transparency, that respecting privacy, independence, how important is that, is to have those elements of democracy itself ingrained and embodied in our AI models?
It's vital, and this is why you'll see a lot of movements towards public AI. the notion of an AI model that is not built and owned by a for-profit corporation. Right? We can imagine other entities creating an AI. And that's really a matter of trust and integrity. Can we trust Grok or even the model from Google or Amazon or any of the other models? Or do we as a country need a model that is built on American democratic values and not necessarily corporate values? It's critical to think about this. Don't think of it as one AI. There'll be many of them.
Right.
I mean, already there are over 1 million models on Hugging Face that are free, and it's becoming cheaper to create these models.
I want you to move to in your testimony, you talked about the dangers that Elon Musk created by the way he was diving into Social Security data and IRS data, and the danger that presented to the United States from a national security standpoint and to the privacy of U.S. citizens. Can you talk about that, please?
I mean, and it's really a matter of process. The goal might be a good idea, but the reason we have controls around this data, who can access, under what rules, in what configurations, are because it's so sensitive. And you think about the different data enclaves, and whether it's census or military data or OPM data about government employees or health data, this is very critical, and we as citizens give this data to the government for good reasons, and it's kept separate for good reasons, and it's kept secure. So when we read about laptops of data being removed, data being given to Palantir to train models that they're going to use to sell back to us, the security is a real concern.
Madam
Right.
Chair, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Higgins for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Thierer, I'm going to be talking with you mostly for the next 5 minutes. So I'd like to dig into the controversies regarding the moratorium section of the BBB legislation currently being considered by Congress. It's across the country as part of the narrative of the discussion of AI, and I believe we have an opportunity today to clarify the intent and the specifics of that section of legislative language in BBB. So in that topic, and please help me to understand, and in doing so, help the nation to understand, good sir. My read of the actual bill states that to that section in particular, going to the moratorium under the section of artificial intelligence and information technology modernization, says in general, except as provided in paragraph 2, which is essentially an exception to the moratorium that it allows for the sovereign states to enact and enforce laws that remove restrictions on use of AI. But the paragraph says in general, except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof, quote unquote, may enforce, comma, during the 10-year period beginning on the date of enactment of this bill, any law or regulation of that state. So my read is that the state is not restricted from debating and considering and voting on and passing and using their legislative bicameral body in each sovereign state to debate and vote on and pass laws regarding AI, and for that governor to sign that law. The big, beautiful bill in this section states that the federal government is asking for a pause on enforcement. Am I right or wrong? And please embellish.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman, for the question. I testified about this in front of the Energy and Commerce Committee just 2 weeks ago, where there was a debate about the AI moratorium. And it's important to keep in mind that the reconciliation bill includes specific funding to modernize Department of Commerce technology systems. And there's a concern among members about exactly how that can happen if there's a whole host of conflicting laws at the
Right,
state
and the
level.
so-called moratorium is under that section.
That's correct.
Please continue.
And so therefore, that would prohibit certain AI-specific types of regulations at the state and local level.
It
Again,
would prohibit the enforcement
yes,
of state-authored regulations.
that are AI-specific regulations. It's very specifically says that laws of general applicability are not to be covered by this, also criminal activity not covered. And so there are some important exceptions to this, and states are going to be free to continue to act on a lot of these different things.
So
but
this
it's-
moratorium, in the interest of time, just to clarify for the country, sir, this moratorium does not restrict the sovereign state's right to debate, vote on, and enact new AI legislation within that state. The moratorium is asking the states to recognize that AI by nature is interstate commerce, and under this section for modernization of the Commerce Department of the reconciliation bill, we're stating that the states should refrain from enforcement of new AI laws. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, Congressman, and specifically what you said about protection of the interstate, the national marketplace is really crucial, and it reflects the broader consensus of Congress going back over the last 30 years about the internet and technology more broadly, that there does need to be somewhat of a national framework and make sure that we don't have a parochial patchwork that will interfere with the free flow of algorithmic commerce and speech.
Okay, that was a
6 seconds.
squared away explanation. I thank the gentleman. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. I will now recognize Ms. Norton for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Government must leverage the best technology possible to meet the ever-changing needs of the people it serves. From the creation of the National Postal Service to the discoveries that led to the internet, the federal government has a long history of embracing new technology to better deliver for our constituents. But our North Star must always be service to the American people, not tax breaks for billionaires or backroom deals to benefit the richest man in the world at public expense. As we discuss the use of artificial intelligence in government, we must have people at the center of the conversation, including the people we represent and federal workers who serve our country. AI is a tool that can empower our public servants, but it is not a substitute for passionate and committed federal workers. Ms. Miller, can AI alone replace federal workers?
Absolutely not. No. The implementation of AI, it's very important when we think about building AI tools that we're building them with the people that we need that will use them. AI is talked about a lot as something that's going to replace people. I'm a strong advocate in using AI to automate routine processes and repeatable processes and free up people to do more high-level, high-skilled work. And so I absolutely do not believe that AI should be doing the work of the public servants. I believe that AI should augment that work and that we should work with public service as we put in place AI tools.
Thank you. Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency has gutted so much of the federal workforce, firing tens of thousands of people under the guise of greater efficiency. But Americans know better. They see the negative impacts every day. As a direct result of the interference with Social Security administrations, senior citizens now face 98-minute wait times to speak with customer service, crowded lobbies at field offices, and being turned away from scheduled appointments because the agency simply does not have enough employees for its mission. Poor customer service is not efficiency. It is failing to uphold the government's responsibility to our constituents. Now the Social Security Administration wants to cut an additional 7,000 employees and somehow use AI to handle calls from seniors. That does not work, because I know that when my constituents have a problem with Social Security, they would rather talk to a person with a computer, talk to a person than a computer program. The Department of Government Efficiency cuts are wreaking havoc on our communities, and it will take years to clean up the mess Elon Musk has left behind. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Ms. Fox for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. And thanks to our witnesses for being here. Mr. Thier, the Trump administration has expressed a goal for the United States to maintain its dominance in AI. Why is it important for the United States to maintain its dominant position in AI?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. As you've heard here today from several witnesses, we're in a serious race with China and the Chinese Communist Party for AI supremacy globally. And the broad-based ramifications of who wins that race are significant for our, not just our geopolitical security, but also our values broadly as a nation and for the world. And so there's a real danger that if we don't get AI policy right as a nation, that China will take the lead. Its products will diffuse throughout the world faster, and we're already seeing this. I was testifying earlier this year at a hearing on the so-called DeepSeek moment, and we saw, surprised a lot of us, including me, how advanced these Chinese systems are today and how effective they've been at filling gaps globally that America's not there to fill at the moment.
Thanks. I do think the answer is pretty obvious, but it was important to get something on the record.
Sure.
How has the Trump administration approach to AI differed from the previous Biden administrations, and why is the departure from the Biden administration's AI policy necessary? Mr. Thier.
Well, the Biden administration approach was very voluminous in terms of rulemaking. You know, obviously the executive order, longest in American history on AI, over 110 pages. And a lot of it was very fear-based, unfortunately, and didn't embrace the technology as much as the new Trump administration executive order and subsequent orders have done. And so I think there's been a real sea change of approach here in terms of understanding the benefits associated with AI technologies broadly.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, your company's been successful at streamlining certain administrative tasks for businesses in the private sector and helping boost productivity. How do you see AI technologies like those developed by your company being effectively used in the federal government? And what kinds of productivity gains and cost savings could we expect to see?
Thank you for the question. You know, to put it in maybe legislative terms, you know, imagine you had an assistant that could summarize the status of a bill. Perhaps maybe look up a constituent problem that you've been tackling before a meeting, or being able to search all of your notes and your memos about various committee hearings and tasks that have been assigned. All these things are things that AI gives us today, and the private sector is using this quite aggressively to make their own teams more efficient and effective. To your question about sort of what that looks like, you know, there's sort of three categories I like to think about. Scale. Broadcom, for example, was able to go from 10,000 employees to 50,000 while keeping the same support staff. So that's another benefit, which is you can take the same team and allow them to support a lot more employees in this case, but in our case here today talking about constituents. I think there's also employee time savings. The city of Glendale, I mentioned, did a 500% plus ROI on their investment, but that was 3,500 hours of savings from the employees themselves that they could apply and use towards other tasks and functions for their constituents. And then, of course, there's monetary savings, which is that if we can do some of this more efficiently, that goes back to the U.S. taxpayers, goes back into the economy to get spent on further innovation.
Thank you very much. Ms. Miller, according to the Office of Management and Budget, each year taxpayers provide more than $1.2 trillion, or nearly 5% of GDP in funding for thousands of programs across the entire government through grants and other financial assistance. With so much taxpayer money spent, it should come as no surprise that besides a very high-level accounting, the federal government largely cannot tell whether a particular grant award was used wisely or if it accomplished the stated goals of the grant program. This committee has worked on legislation such as my bill from 2019, the GREAT Act, to address the problem, but as we've discovered, there's not enough data available in the proper formats to evaluate whether taxpayer funds given out as grants are being used wisely. How could AI help us solve this problem and make sure that every taxpayer dollar given as a grant is used effectively and for its stated purpose?
Thanks for the question. Actually, we did something pretty innovative with my technology company, Tracklight. We were trying to figure out who one of the agencies that we were working with paid. And so we got access to minutes of board meetings, and then we used AI to scrape those minutes and identify vendors. And then we were able to collect hundreds of vendors that this agency was paying that they didn't know they were paying. Now, we can all talk about how insane it is that the agency doesn't know who they're paying, which is a serious problem. But there are ways that AI can help solve this problem and start to sort of piece together who these grants are going to. And it's incredibly important for taxpayers to know that information.
It would be nice if we could just search things on Fireside. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, and I'll now recognize Mr. Mfume for 5 minutes.
Madam Chairwoman, thank you very much. My thanks to the guests who have come today. One of the things that strikes me about this hearing is that we don't have enough time, and we're all trying to get a lot in here. So I will certainly use the right that members have to submit questions for the record for 5 business days, because there are a number of you. Mr. Shaw, in particular, I want to ask some questions of you through that process. And Mr. Schneier, your testimony was chilling, to say the very least, so hopefully we can talk about that. But Ms. Miller, I'd like to start with you. Much of your work focuses on fraud prevention, and before we get to that, I'd like to go back to something that I heard that was just as chilling, and that was your description of these outdated privacy laws, which don't afford any protection whatsoever to what's happening now in 2025 at the rapid pace of this technology and its development. It's very scary to believe and to hear, quite frankly, that we are behind in that, because the privacy of Americans is absolutely important. It's just as important as what Ms. Norton brought up earlier, and that is the fact that people who are looking for Social Security or trying to get Medicaid or trying to figure out SNAP benefits are running into this technology and being run over by it in many instances. So can we talk just a minute about these privacy laws, which I assume they predate all of this discussion, and that there is, as I understand, not a real determined effort to upgrade them to be able to protect industry and be able to protect government and individuals?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. The Privacy Act was passed in 1972, which was 52 years ago, almost 53, and we still have that's still the law that governs how we protect privacy today, which obviously is exceptionally outdated. There are, in my opinion, there isn't a lot that can be done through the legal system to protect Americans' personally identifiable information anymore. I think we just live in an entirely new world now, and foreign adversarial nation-state actors, criminal rings, all of our data has been monetized, is being monetized today. 96% of information that's stolen through a data breach is used to monetize by a threat actor. And so because we have such an asymmetric situation when it comes to data, government is going to have to get much better about using technology to protect privacy. And there are technologies that are in place, I'm sure that some from some of the panelists here today are using in the private sector. We can anonymize data. And so we can do things that we can protect people's privacies. And we're going to need to think about this both from a legislative perspective, not hamstringing agencies. The Privacy Act and the Computer Matching Act keep agencies from being able to to share data that they desperately need to be able to find these actors. And again, these actors are foreign adversarial actors.
Thank you very, very much. Mr. Schneier, let's go back to your assessment of the bigger you are, the bigger target you are, the more data is collected on you, and the harm that will come to you, your community, your agency, your government in this instance. Walk me down that briefly, down that street again, because you didn't go into the fact that this is not science fiction. This is happening every day, and it's happening to the United States of America.
Well, I mentioned China, the OPM breach from the last decade, where China went into OPM and took the data, among other things, all the clearance forms of United States citizens. And you can imagine why they might do that, and why they might identify who spies are, might look for people they can influence. And that is the sort of thing that countries are doing today. I mean, I'm assuming we're doing it to them. And so this data is very valuable at the government level for a lot of different things. I mentioned two scenarios. I mentioned a potential war scenario, a potential peace scenario. The more data we have, and our data is being collected everywhere. And so a lot of data is had by social media companies that know a lot about what we like and who we are and who our friends are and who's important to us. But the data we give governments is a different sort of data. If you think about the data that's on the tax return, or the data that the Census Bureau collects, or the military data, that's personal on a different level. And countries want that. They're going to want that in aggregate to figure out things about us, and they're going to want it individually. And coercion's a lot of it depends who you are, what coercion means.
Thank you. My time has expired. Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Sessions for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, thank you very much, and good morning to each of the panel members. We appreciate you being here. A long time ago, I spent time at Bell Labs, where we were responsible for the network architecture, but also the development of the switch that would be utilized. We set standards and did things to where we had unified way to look at how switch operated. We both know we had SALT and Volt Typhoon, whereby our government people learned that the Chinese had been into our our databases for a long time. Should have found it, didn't find it, cost us. My question really is, and I'm sure each one of you have an answer for this, or at least your vision of that. All it takes is one node to be compromised. It's like a big fence that goes around. It just takes one loose place. Does the federal government, do we here in Congress need to ask someone? Do we need to deal with other countries? Does there need to be a standards body that specifically, like when I worked at the labs, to set what those standards are? How do we avoid, with all the things we're doing, getting something that happens like that again? Sir, evidently you've got your hand on the panel first. Any ideas?
I didn't know this was Jeopardy, that you had to be quick.
Well, okay, then we can go to you last if you want. But my point is, do you have any ideas on this question?
So we have things. I mean, this is the job of the NSA. Right? We have security organizations in the United States whose job is to protect American data. And I think we actually do a pretty good job. And we have problems that a lot of data is in private hands, that, right now, if you think about just the Defense Department, there are thousands of networks, but there are rules, and I think we're doing okay. I don't think we need an international standard. I mean, this is very much United States. I mean, NATO does things together, so there are groups, but this isn't like a corporate security thing where we need an international standard, everyone's consistent. The U.S. has U.S. problems, U.S. adversaries, and we do have U.S. solutions.
We also have battleships and aircraft carriers that are out in the middle of places. Anyone else? Thank you, sir. Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I think what we've seen, especially in cybersecurity, the NIST has created standards there that became adopted by a majority of the industry. And I think when it comes to AI and protecting data, coming from the lens of a startup, from a young company, we've looked at the new standards that they have around AI, and they're actually pretty good. And they do provide for a lot of recommendations that we actually follow. And then furthermore, going through the FedRAMP process, while I found it to be very expensive, there was a lot of amazing sort of things that they recommended in terms of infrastructure, software, process, and procedures that allow us to really make sure that the data is secured. And so I think that if we can have more of these types of frameworks, more of a lighter touch, it'll allow us to continue to innovate fast, but still give us all a true north of where we should take things in terms of our infrastructure and our processes.
Sir?
Sir, I would say three things. Number one, just to follow on Mr. Shah's point, I think NIST is well positioned for this. I think the remissioning of the Safety Institute by the Department of Commerce 2 days ago that will focus on really building the standards across our federal government and how they use AI is a step forward. Also looking at open source models coming from countries of concern, specifically China, and what kind of a risk they possess in our ecosystem. I think that's the right step to do it. At the allies and partners levels, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the 5I Alliance really provides us with a stepping stone of coming with some common standards among our 5 allied partners, and then start bringing other countries under the fold. And the third piece, as Mr. Schreier mentioned here earlier, what can we do on the offensive side? So our adversary doesn't get a hold of our data, they don't use it against us, and then actually we put them on the back foot instead of letting them really attack us on a daily and hourly basis.
Good. Anyone else?
Just very briefly, sir, I just want to put in a good word for what the Trump administration has been doing with its recent executive orders and OMB guidance on this front, which has been to provide not only a framework for expanding the use of AI throughout government, but also getting more serious about security vulnerabilities and other types of concerns. And recent OMB guidances like M25-21 and 22 basically try to address these concerns you're raising.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate the panel very much. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Ms. Brown for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad this committee is finally turning its attention to the federal government's use of artificial intelligence, because under President Trump, AI isn't being used to serve the people, it's being abused to serve the powerful. DOGE was a reckless, unregulated, and unethical failure, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of my colleagues on the other side quietly agree now that Elon Musk is out here trashing their one big ugly bill. So let's be clear about how we got here. Musk and his cronies were handed the keys to our government's data, let loose to sidestep security safeguards, strip away federal jobs, and exploit Americans' personal information unchecked and unaccountable. They used AI as a blunt force tool to slash thousands of federal jobs and gut billions in government spending with no transparency or regard for the human cost. But that's not even the most dangerous part. DOGE has launched an unprecedented power grab over Americans' personal data. Earlier this year, reports surfaced that a DOGE staffer with no credentials and no clearance reportedly accessed Americans' personal information and shared private data with third parties. I co-led a letter with Reps. Trahan and Del Bene demanding an investigation, and it might not come as a surprise that we're still waiting for answers. And we now know this wasn't a one-off. Whistleblowers have revealed that DOGE is actively building a master database, a centralized system combining sensitive data from across federal and state agencies that includes Americans' medical records, their credit card numbers, their medical claims, their student debts, and much, much more. To build it, the administration has turned to Palantir, the surveillance firm funded and founded by Republican mega donor Peter Thiel. And this massive trove of personal information is being built with no oversight, no security guarantees, and no guardrails. Here's why every American should be alarmed. In the wrong hands, this database could be weaponized to target political enemies, suppress dissent, or surveil the public. And even in the best case scenario, a breach could expose millions to identity theft, blackmail, or worse. What's most disturbing is how much we still don't know. But what we do know raises serious concerns about violations of the Privacy Act, FISMA, and E-Government Act. This committee must keep investigating, because we cannot allow AI to become a weapon of surveillance for surveillance, exploitation, and the dismantling of public institutions. So, Mr. Schreier, how should Americans feel knowing that DOGE is pulling together their most sensitive personal data to train AI without clear safeguards, oversight, or consent? And what protections are in place to keep that data from being misused or exposed?
Well, we do have a lot of laws in place. We have laws protecting the data. We have laws prescribing how it is used, how it is shared, and that's what's being bypassed. So it really is more a matter of enforcing the laws we have on the books than writing new laws. I don't think we have a need to do anything because of AI, because these problems with data sharing, the security risks, have been with us for decades. And we do have laws, we do have rules, and they're being bypassed.
So let me ask you this. Given DOGE's reported practice of bypassing security protocols and exporting sensitive data to less secure environments, how serious is the national security risk? And are we making it easier for foreign adversary hackers to access government systems and Americans' personal information?
I mean, we are. We knew from the first weeks that some of the things DOGE was doing was bypassing security protocols and removing audit trails. I mean, basically eliminating the security mechanisms we have in place to protect the data. We've had one example of a Russian actor going in after a DOGE employee using their credentials. I mean, that's the one we know about. These countries are not stupid. They know how to do espionage. They've been doing it for decades. And so I think what I said in my remarks, we have to assume that all of this data has been exfiltrated by our enemies. I would be very concerned. Now, it depends on who you are. The more powerful you are, the more concerned you are, because the more leverage can be leveraged against you.
Thank you. Let me be clear. Artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies can offer real benefits, but only when developed responsibly and with clear guardrails that protect the American people. So I stand ready to work with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who are serious about securing our nation's cybersecurity, safely deploying AI within the federal government, and ensuring that Americans' data remains safe. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, I yield back.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Biggs for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank the panelists for being here today. Mr. Shaw, in your written testimony, you describe how various communities, counties, cities, and 2 of them in Arizona, Scottsdale and Glendale, are actually using AI, perhaps becoming a hub of AI anyway, using it to become more efficient. Can you expand on that for us? Tell us what they're doing, and then the guidelines and guardrails that they have in place.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, in terms of the cities and counties that have started to adopt this technology, they're using it to make their employees more effective. What does that mean? That means that they can self-serve a lot more use cases than they would have otherwise. They can find information, they can troubleshoot issues that they might be having with IT or even an HR situation or use case. They can submit performance reviews, they can do a variety of tasks that were otherwise very manual and very slow and required a lot of coordination amongst folks. And so this, as I was mentioning earlier, City of Glendale in Arizona is saving their employees 3,500 hours now each month, being able to now do more with those same team members to support the employees or the constituents of their county. And so I think that we see this across the private sector. We've seen people use this technology to enable more employees, to do greater levels of work and greater levels of output, while still sort of maintaining all the privacy and the security that's required in any of those environments.
Thanks for that. Now, Mr. Schneider was talking about the laws that have been placed to protect privacy rights, and they've been in place for a long time, largely ignored from both parties, if quite frankly, in my opinion. But what I want to get to is something that Mr. Bajrakdari said when you started talking about the Five Eyes community. And I just came from another hearing where one of the issues that we're having is that pursuant to the Cloud Act, the UK is trying to get backdoor hacks into Apple. And they're claiming that they have some kind of robust privacy protection there. But the reality is they won't disclose what that robust privacy protection is, and they're keeping the entire process closed, obscured. And so I'm curious about how we can fully work with the Five Eyes community
in the development of AI and yet protect the fundamental rights of American citizens? And so I'm going to ask you that question.
Thank you, sir. Great question. We have created the Five Eye community during the Cold War because one of the ways we could share more and fast and be ahead of what Soviet Union was doing was, being able to share with our allies and partners. I think there needs to be a starting point in how we confront China today. I don't think we can confront China alone without bringing, our closest allies under the fold. The speed and scale of how China adopts and uses AI for national security purposes is really breathtaking. So my point is we should start with a community of the most trusted allies and partners that we have.
So my question is, though, when you have essentially the abuse of rights that we're seeing through the abuse of the agreement, the cloud agreement between U.S. and U.K., can you fully trust the Five Eyes to work together on this? And that's...
Yeah, I understand your concern, sir. I think we have to work really closely with them to remove obstacles, because I think the challenge we face ahead of us is that if we don't find a common language and build common security protocols, I think we would have a different world by the end of this decade, a world in which CCP will probably have access to all our data, the entire global infrastructure will depend on the CCP, and the companies subsidized by Chinese. So we have to find a ways to remove these obstacles with our closest allies.
I don't disagree with that. It's just we need to make changes right now, and we're not making changes fast enough, and we're not implementing anything fast enough. So I'm going to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the bill text from a new Arizona law passed earlier this month to close dangerous loophole that allowed predators to use AI and digital editing tools to create child sexual abuse material that appears but real but depicts no actual child. It was HB 2678, sponsored by House Republican Majority Whip Julie Willoughby, and it updates state law to ensure AI-generated and digitally altered images that are indistinguishable from real minors carry the same criminal penalties as those involving actual children. I'd like to submit...
No objection.
I also ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record an article discussing how my home state of Arizona is taking steps to allow AI to flourish, showcasing that states can handle AI regulation responsibly and reap the economic benefits.
No objection.
Thank you.
All right, I'll now recognize Ms. Stansbury for 5 minutes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to say thank you to the entire panel for your recommendations this morning. My background's actually in the sciences, and I've worked a lot of my career. I've worked in natural and earth sciences most of my career, including on big data and modeling. So I do appreciate much of what the recommendations are that have come from our experts. But I'm especially grateful that you're here, Mr. Thier, because when the huge abomination of a bill, I'll call it, came down the pike, my eye actually caught the specific language and funding appropriation in the bill that you referenced in your testimony. And I think many of us were confused about where it came from, what its intent is, and this is the first time I've had the opportunity to actually ask some questions, so I'm glad you're here. And as I understand it from my look into your background, that you've actually been directly involved in developing this language and request, is that correct?
Not that language. I've written about moratoria in the past, though, going back to the 1990s when I worked with Congress on the Internet Tax Freedom Act.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned that part of why this deregulation language is in here that would preempt state and local laws regarding the regulation of AI systems is in part because of this $500 million request that's in the bill. Can you help us understand what would that $500 million be used to do specifically?
Going back to the bipartisan House AI Task Force report from last December, there was a major section that led off the report about the need for government modernization of IT systems.
Just some specifics.
So specifically at the Department of Commerce, there's a need to actually improve how various programs function there, including new ones that have just been created.
Just some specifics, like what kind of systems would be built with this $500 million?
Well, I don't know exactly. I don't know the answer to that, Congresswoman. I'm sorry. I don't know specifically what Commerce will use that money for going forward.
Do you know where this request came from?
You'd have to ask the House Energy and Commerce Committee specifically, who put the bill forward, that language forward in the.
Do you know what companies would benefit from this language?
No, but I do know that there is a broad need for many different types of vendors and services to be utilized by the federal government, not
So
just
this
large.
would likely go to private contracts, correct?
It would go to many private contracts, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And some of the leading contractors who do work in this area that already have government contracts are companies like Palantir, correct?
I believe that's one of many, but there's many other vendors of IT services and AI.
So correct, yes. And I heard you argue just a few moments ago when Mr. Higgins was asking you about this preemption language that it was needed because there would be integration of data from state and local entities. And it's my understanding, I think others have kind of alluded to this, that right now the Trump administration is working on creating some sort of master database that brings together data from multiple different sources across state lines. And in fact, there was a request that went out to the states asking for data about SNAP beneficiaries because my understanding is Homeland Security is interested in integrating data for immigration enforcement purposes. So they would like to integrate data using the census data that they hacked in, exfiltrated, and downloaded. They'd like to integrate data with the immigration databases that they have. And now they're asking states to send data that falls under state jurisdiction to integrate for immigration enforcement. And, you know, you can call it whatever you want. I've heard folks say this is not a master database, but it absolutely is. And we know that the Trump administration is trying to take American data and hire private companies like Palantir to create means to use American data for their own policy ends, including endangering the lives of Americans. So I think that one of the reasons why folks are reacting so strongly to this language that's in this bill is because it's so extreme. And yesterday I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene, I was standing on the floor while she gave a speech on this very language that's in this bill that would literally say that states and localities cannot enforce their own data rules or AI. It preempts federalism, it preempts state law. It would prevent states from protecting their own citizens. And, you know, it's rare these days that we have bipartisan agreement, but I agree with literally everything that Marjorie Taylor Greene said on the floor yesterday. This is dangerous. It could endanger American lives, and we cannot allow this language to get through. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you, and I'll recognize Mr. Perry for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and ladies and gentlemen, thanks for making the trip and being here. I'm not sure what questions I have for you, but I do want to make everybody aware of some things that I am aware of. I'm going to refer directly to an AI safety firm named Palisade Research and another one named Apollo Research. We'll talk about things like the fact that the Chinese Communist Party likes to pollute the available information in the world with all kinds of things that support the Communist Party of China's view of the world and not the free world's. And with that having been said, I suspect that all of you are aware of the times that when various AI has been tested. I'll give you a couple names: Codex Mini, OpenAI Model 03, OpenAI Model 04. And other ones, the AI has chosen on occasion to further its goals as opposed to the goals of the people that wrote the code. And on occasion, how about the instance where Anthropic's Claude 4 model attempted to blackmail the people it believed were trying to shut it down, and then it would ignore, and other ones would ignore shutdown commands, even when told in advance that shutdown commands were coming, and went as far as to rewrite itself and preserve itself on a different server to avoid the commands of the humans in charge of it. Now, that might seem like the view of a Luddite, but I mean, I've got pages and pages of AI deliberately disabling various developer-installed oversight mechanisms, shutdown commands being ignored, replicating itself, preserving itself without the user even knowing. Now, let me be clear. I think that the United States of America has to win the race and be preeminent in AI. But I also think, while I sit on the Oversight Committee, that knowing these things are occurring during tests, that us encouraging as a committee or as a Congress the use of these systems in places like nuclear security or national security without having these pretty obvious things worked out is dangerous, like at a minimum, like is almost, I can't even believe we're having the conversation. Like, how in the hell are we in here telling everybody that we've got to incorporate this into the federal government, state government, all levels of government, including like national defense, nuclear security, when we know these things are occurring? And I don't know which one of you to ask. You all seem to be all for AI, and I get it's your vocation, your passion, et cetera. But we got a duty here on this committee and in this Congress to make sure that the right thing happens. And, you know, humans, Americans, are supposed to be in charge of the government, not some machine that learned from another machine that picked up data that was polluted with Chinese propaganda and is going to, like, push the button for us. Ms. Miller, you seem interested. I got a minute left. What do you got?
Well, this is a real concern, and GAO and other standard-setting entities have been really pushing for responsible AI frameworks. And this is one of those reasons why when we talk about AI, you can get a bunch of people in a room that are like, go, 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 lean in, you know, do more adoption, faster, faster. But it's so important to think about these safeguards and how important they are. Responsible AI is incredibly important when we're dealing with national security information and American citizens' information that could threaten the actual, you know, safety and security of American citizens. And so it's incredibly important that we are slow and deliberate enough. And that is one of the reasons why GAO and others have put out these frameworks. And it's really important. I agree with you as this oversight.
So are you saying that the frameworks deal adequately with these things, or what am I missing?
Well, I'm saying that if they're considered and carefully rolled out, then those concerns will be at least taken into consideration. I do think there's a lot of risk in AI, and we should, I agree with you, consider where we want to apply this and where we want to.
So, ma'am, I have a little bit of time left, and I just want to say this. I think for me, it's beyond consideration. Like, before we hand this thing the nuclear codes, I don't want it to be considered. I want to know the damn stuff is right, not polluted with Chinese communist facts or their alleged version of the facts, and that the thing's not going to avoid the humans and avoid, you know, detection and all that stuff. Madam Chair, I would like to enter into the record, or request that be entered into the record, Apollo Research's report titled "Frontier Models Are Capable of In-Context Scheming," published on January 16th, 2025. And I ask that be
No objection.
Thank you. I
Right.
yield.
Thank you. I'll recognize Ms. Randall for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to our witnesses today for being here, maybe longer than you even planned. You know, Mr. Perry mentioned some of the important reasons that AI use in the federal government is responsible for the lives and livelihoods of so many more individuals than, you know, one of us asking ChatGPT a question, you know, for our own purposes. And we've seen some examples of potential federal government uses of AI that have gone wrong. Mr. Schneier, you know, Elon Musk and Doge have tried to throw AI at problems throughout the government with no regard to Americans' privacy, safety, and security, no regard to the 27,000 federal employees who I represent, and to, you know, don't seem to be able to parse the difference between gender research and specifying that female flies must be used in NIH research studies. Can you discuss why the need for some of those higher standards in, a higher standard of AI use framework in situations like that, and what some of the pitfalls are of not providing a higher standard for AI use in government than the private industry?
I'm not sure it's government versus private industry. I mean, we would probably might expect the same standards in something like banking, right, or in university admissions, right? There are going to be these instances where the decisions made are important enough that we have rules and laws prescribing how they can be made. And it's really a matter of making sure the AI is suitable for the task, being able to audit what the AI is doing, correct for mistakes. And in some ways, it's replacing humans make mistakes all the time. And we as a society have thousands of years dealing with human mistakes, from like double entry bookkeeping to checklists of surgical equipment to make sure they're not left in bodies. We know when a human makes a mistake how to deal with it. To the extent that AI makes human mistakes, we're covered. But AI makes different sorts of mistakes. So a lot of our systems for dealing with them just don't work. So when I think about an AI being used, something important like a benefits administration, it's going to be how it's used. So I'm going to make this up. Like, we'll have the AI do the work, but it's only allowed to say easy yeses. Can't say no, just say yes. Everything it does is reviewed, and all the no's, anything that's hard, humans review. We can watch the AI get better or worse. We might give it more responsibility, but again, with a lot of audit. It's really a matter of replacing versus augmenting. One of the early questions was about AI in procurement. So I can think of two things where an AI is a negotiating assistant, assisting a human in negotiating. Walmart does this right now. Like, they use AIs because they have to buy a gazillion things to help with that. But the humans are in charge. And also possibly using AI for auditing. There's a really interesting work done on using AI to figure out which slaughterhouses human ag inspectors should visit. Right? There are a lot out there. We can pick at random, or we can have some algorithm. Again, the AI is not making the decision, the human is. So it really is thinking very carefully about how the AI and human work together, where we can get the benefits of the AI without losing control. I mean, Mr. Perry talked about that. It's really important. But still getting the benefits of the speed or the scale that AI provides.
Thank you. I think that is a key difference that many of my neighbors and constituents are talking about. Use technological tools for more information, for data gathering, for the ability to distill things. But when we're talking about, say, the life and death of individuals who depend on NIH-funded research, or decisions that have to do with termination of individuals because maybe they wrote an email that says a word that people don't like in it, this becomes really dangerous and has real human impact. So putting in safeguards so that DOJ doesn't continue to make mistakes that are unable to be quickly corrected and that have real long-term impacts, I think, is very important for us as an oversight committee to keep on top of. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Burleson for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for holding this very critical hearing on the federal government in the age of artificial intelligence. As we explore the AI's ability to transform this economy and the potential that it has to enhance federal program efficiency, combat fraud, and deliver better services to the American people, we must address a fundamental challenge to this, and that is our federal procurement system. Our current system is riddled with barriers, lengthy certification processes, complex reseller networks, and multi-year contract vehicles that prevent agencies from accessing innovations or AI solutions, particularly from smaller companies. This procurement challenge not only hinders efficiency, but also threatens America's global leadership in AI. In the last Congress, the 118th Congress, my bill, the FIT Procurement Act, was reported favorably out of this committee and then successfully passed the House with bipartisan support last year. I will be introducing the FIT Procurement Act again shortly. But let me point out that my bill directly tackles our outdated federal procurement system. This act streamlines federal acquisition to empower agencies to further acquire cutting-edge commercial technologies like AI. It does this by simply raising the simplified acquisition threshold from $250,000 to $500,000, increasing the micro purchase threshold from $10K to $25K, and allowing advanced payments for subscription-based software, which is what we see so readily today that the federal government is not able to take advantage of. With unanimous bipartisan support in the last Congress, this act is a proven common sense reform to modernize government, save taxpayer dollars, and reposition the United States as a continued leader in the AI-driven future. And I look forward to hearing from our witnesses about that. And so let me begin. Mrs. Miller, in your testimony, you discuss why agencies should buy commercial technology rather than build custom code. As someone who was an in-house custom coder, I couldn't agree with you more. Could you follow up and elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. Well, the point I was making in my testimony about that was that it creates technical debt when you're creating your code yourself. And because AI is moving so quickly, frequently it'll be obsolete soon after it's built. And so it makes sense to contract with vendors who have more updated tools. I would just add that the bill that you're referring to, given my own small company's challenges, getting access to small pilot projects and proofs of concept, given those very low thresholds, this would be very beneficial to small, innovative technology companies.
Thank you. I don't have to now ask my follow-up question. Is it true that AI can be used to detect fraud in the grant process effectively?
Yeah, there's so many great use cases for AI in the fraud space when it comes to grants. We can scan through information using open source intelligence. AI models, large language models, can sort that information incredibly quickly within seconds and spot anomalies humans would not be able to spot. Even if we were, a lot of times what is happening today are grant processors are pulling up Google and opening up different screens and looking for things on different sites. Sometimes they have access to open source intelligence tools, but they're still manually checking for that. AI makes that incredibly quick.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, you've highlighted the federal government's procurement problem in their process. Based on your experience, direct experience, do you believe that changes to the procurement process allowing agencies to pilot products like yours before going enterprise-wide would allow smaller companies like you to better compete for contracts?
Yes, we believe that strongly. I think there's a variety of ways to do that. One, creating more POC type programs. You know, a good example is the, I think it's called the Investment Horizon pilot program that the Office of the CIO of the Navy has implemented. But the challenge is every agency seems to have their own set of ways that they procure new technologies. So to the extent that we can help to normalize that will help us also navigate. You know, for example, through the FedRAMP process that I've described, of the 8.5 million, 600,000 I spent on consultants to help me figure out the process.
Just to get certified.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, I couldn't have spent that on maybe more innovation or other areas. So I think that if you have innovator programs or ways for us to start with other agencies that are less security focused, will be a big help.
Is it safe to say the federal government is a pain in the ass client?
It is a complex web, and if you ever want to do a secret shopper with me one day, and you can sort of watch how this plays out, I'd be very happy to show you what it looks like.
Thank you.
I yield back.
All right, now I will now recognize Mr. Garcia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you to our witnesses for being here today. I want to just start by noting that we know that certainly AI can be an important tool for federal government, for our federal workforce. I think we always want to make sure that we're centering those that are working in our government and uplift the work that our federal workers do every single day. But we know that AI can navigate and help government become more efficient and intuitive in many cases. I think we should be honest about that. It can also help constituents get services faster. I've seen this happen at the local level. I've seen it happen, of course, now happening at the state level and here in Congress as well. We also know that many agencies just need to move more quickly, be more efficient. And AI can be a tool when you respect the federal workforce and work with the federal workforce on how we make these implementations happen. AI can also be used, of course, on issues around red tape, I saw this happening in cities across the United States. And we can analyze data better and faster. We can also work to empower our federal workforce in ways that they can use AI to help them do their jobs. And I think that's an important piece of this. It's also clear, though, that AI can be incredibly dangerous, incredibly disruptive, and certainly without guardrails can cause real harm to the American public and to the work that we're all trying to do. Now, deployment, of course, is going to take investments into work, but I do have some serious concerns about how AI is used, and it's particularly in this administration. And I want to talk about one of them, which I think is actually really, really important. So this, of course, is Robert Kennedy Jr., someone who I consider to be an extreme anti-vaxxer. I believe for him to be a conspiracy theorist, and certainly has no business being the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, take one step back. We just went through a pandemic where 1.3 million Americans lost their lives, where businesses were shut down across the country, where healthcare was brought to the forefront of the public consciousness. And we know how important getting real medical vaccine testing information is to the American public. And right now we're dealing with measles outbreaks in Texas and other places. Information needs to be peer-reviewed, fact-checked, and done in a way that is responsible. But here, of course, we know that there was recently a Make America Healthy report that was put out by RFK Jr. and HHS. And I'm going to include in the article just this quote. There were dozens of errors, including broken links, wrong issue numbers, and missing or incorrect authors. Some studies were misstated to back up the report's conclusions, or more damningly, didn't exist at all. At least 7 of the studies were really fictitious. What we do know from many folks that have read this report is it appears that AI played a role in developing a report about the public health of Americans. This is something that we should be incredibly concerned with. And let's be clear, RFK Jr. has a long history already of dangerous, unscientific beliefs. He said 5G and Wi-Fi cause brain damage. He said that you don't believe that HIV causes AIDS. He said that water can make you transgender. These are very concerning positions. And the fact that he puts out this report, and HHS, which has been long respected as an important agency, puts out a report that is full of AI errors and AI-generated content, should concern every member of Congress on both sides of the aisle. This is incredibly devastating when you, on top of that, look at all the cuts that he's making to NIH and other health agencies across the United States. And so this is, for me, very concerning, and it should be for all of us. Professor Snyder, is it fair to say that these kind of errors in important government documents and health reports that could be due to AI are concerning to us and we should be concerned about?
They are concerning, but put the blame where it belongs. I mean, maybe the AI is not suitable for the task, or maybe the human who used the AI didn't check the work. And that would have been true if the human tasked an intern. I mean, so it's really a matter of what's the process by which, by whatever gives you your first draft, do you look at it and make sure it's correct? We've seen the same problem with attorneys submitting briefs into courts that have fake precedents. I mean, yes, the AI made the mistake, but it's...
As recent terrorist attacks by Kyiv. All right, I want to check in on U.S. futures. This is the scene in Washington, D.C., where the spat between Donald Trump and Elon Musk has gone public on social media, with the president telling CNN he won't speak to the Tesla CEO for a while. It is 9 a.m. in Washington. It is 5 p.m. here in Abu Dhabi. I'm Eleni Jarkos. This is Connect the World. Also coming up on the show, Tesla shares fell more than 14% Thursday as President Trump threatened to pull government contracts for Musk's companies. And we'll get a full look at the damage to Musk's empire when markets open this hour. Meanwhile, Russia launches a barrage of drones and missiles across Ukraine in response to what it describes as recent terrorist attacks by Kyiv. All right, I want to check in on U.S. futures. Markets will open in around 13 minutes. And as you can see, we're red across the board. The Dow and the S&P, as you can see, well into negative territory. But the Nasdaq is down 1%. A lot of worry and concern about what it means for Tesla stocks, the spat between Elon Musk and President Trump. But importantly, we had the U.S. jobs report out a short time ago. It came in better than expected. For the month of May, 139,000 jobs were created. That is from 147,000 in April. Unemployment rate remains the same at 4.2%. So we'll be unpacking the non-farm payrolls a little later in the show. In the meantime,